Have you ever found yourself sitting at your desk, just staring at a ringing phone and feeling this sudden, like, completely irrational pit in your stomach?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You watch the screen light up, you see a number you just don't recognize, and instead of, simply swiping to answer, you just sit there.
You just freeze.
Yeah, exactly. You let it ring out, it goes to voicemail, and then you spend the next 10 minutes recovering from this bizarre spike of adrenaline, all because you weren't mentally prepared for a spontaneous conversation.
It's so common now. The modern aversion to the phone call is, well, it's a fascinating psychological phenomenon.
It really is.
We carry these devices everywhere, right? Yet, a synchronous, unannounced demand for our attention triggers a genuine stress response.
A literal fight-or-flight reaction to a ringtone.
Exactly. It forces an immediate shift in cognitive focus. It demands real-time processing without the luxury of, drafting or editing a response, which we've grown so accustomed to with text-based communication.
Okay, let's unpack this because that exact feeling of paralysis is the entry point for today's deep dive. We're looking at a source script today labeled EP13, which functions as an educational dialogue between two figures. Their names are Alex and Sophia.
Right, and Sophia is really struggling.
She is. Her phone has been ringing all morning, and she is entirely immobilized by the prospect of answering it. But the catch here is that she is operating in a second language.
Which just amplifies that anxiety tenfold. The mission of our deep dive today is to really examine the golden rules of phone etiquette that Alex imparts to Sophia.
Right, the specific phrases.
Yeah, but we are going to push past the surface level manners. We need to explore the underlying neurology and the psychology of audio-only communication.
Because it's not just about being polite.
No, not at all. We're looking at how highly specific scripted phrases function not merely as polite filler, but as a vital psychological shield against cognitive overload.
The source script zeroes in on the root cause of Sophia's paralysis right away. She is terrified. She simply won't understand the caller.
Which is a very valid fear.
It is. And Alex points out a fundamental truth about why this is so difficult. Talking on the phone strips you entirely of visual cues.
This is huge. When we engage in face-to-face communication, the words themselves only carry a fraction of the data.
Right.
Our brains are constantly engaged in predictive processing, heavily relying on a massive, continuous stream of nonverbal information.
Like body language and stuff.
Exactly. We track microexpressions, the tension in a speaker's jaw, subtle shifts in posture, eye contact. The human brain uses all of that data to contextualize the audio.
It's doing so much background work.
It is. And the moment you pick up a phone receiver, that data stream is severed completely.
It makes me think of trying to navigate a dark room using only echoes.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
You are constantly tossing out words and waiting to hear how they bounce back just to figure out where the walls are.
Yeah.
In a normal conversation, we rely on a quick nod or a furrowed brow to confirm, like, yes, I'm following you, or wait, I'm lost. Without those visual anchors, you're left floating in a void of context.
And operating in that void means the brain has to reallocate massive amounts of energy just to parse the audio signal.
It's exhausting.
It really is. And this brings us to the crucial nature of the initial greeting. In that dark room, the very first words you project define the entire architecture of the interaction.
They set the stage.
Right. So Alex suggests the standard professional gateway, which is, "Hello, this is Alex speaking."
Standard, safe.
But Sophia questions this. She asks if she can simply say, "Who are you?"
I mean, from a purely functional standpoint, her instinct makes sense.
It's very logical.
Yeah, she lacks visual identification, so she deploys the most direct linguistic tool available to acquire that data.
Give me your name now.
Exactly. But to a native ear, answering the phone with, "Who are you?" is, it feels incredibly abrasive.
Oh, it's so jarring.
Alex immediately redirects her to use the phrase, "May I ask who's calling, please?"
What's fascinating here is the sociological mechanism of that pivot.
How so?
Well, "who are you" functions as a demand. It establishes an adversarial hierarchy where the receiver is interrogating the caller.
Like a bouncer at a club.
Right. And on a neurological level, demands trigger a mild threat response in the recipient's amygdala. It forces them into a defensive posture.
I understand the mechanics of that, but let me push back a little on the alternative.
Sure.
"May I ask who's calling, please?" feels almost, I don't know, overly subservient.
It's very padded, yes.
Why do we have to tiptoe around the simple act of asking a stranger to identify themselves? Doesn't this level of linguistic padding just slow down the communication?
It does slow it down, but that friction is intentional. It's necessary.
That's very friction. Okay.
You aren't just exchanging data, you are negotiating social safety. By padding the request with "may I ask," you are utilizing permission-seeking language.
Ah, permission.
Yes, you are voluntarily lowering your own status in the interaction, which signals to the caller's brain that you are not a threat.
Okay, that makes sense.
It transforms the interaction from an interrogation into a cooperative exchange. That auditory padding acts as a handshake in the darkroom, preemptively lowering cortisol levels for both parties.
So the inefficiency is actually the point.
Exactly.
It buys time
Yeah.
and signals safety. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So once the caller's identity is established without triggering a defensive response, the script moves to the next phase, which is routing the call.
The action phase.
Right. Alex introduces the phrase, "put you through."
Mm.
He tells Sophia to say, "One moment, please, I'll put you through," to connect the call.
And he also equips her for the alternative scenario where the intended recipient is unavailable.
Which happens all the time.
All the time. He provides the phrase, "I'm afraid he's not in at the moment. Would you like to leave a message?"
This brings us to a really fascinating concept hidden within these, mundane phrases.
Right.
The source material presents these as rules of etiquette, but you mentioned earlier that these act as a psychological shield.
Yes, a cognitive shield.
How exactly does saying, "Would you like to leave a message," protect Sophia's cognitive load?
It comes down to how the brain processes language under stress. In linguistics, these are known as formulaic sequences or lexical chunks.
Lexical chunks.
Yeah. If Sophia attempts to generate a grammatically correct sentence from scratch every time the phone rings, she is forcing her working memory to engage in heavy lifting.
She has to think about every single word.
Exactly. Her brain is actively managing syntax, subject-verb agreement, vocabulary retrieval, and tone, all while still translating from her native language.
It's like writing a complex software program while simultaneously trying to run it.
Yes.
The system resources are just going to max out.
Precisely. The cognitive load becomes unsustainable.
Yeah.
But by memorizing, "I'm afraid he's not in at the moment," as a single, unbroken macro, she bypasses the need for grammatical assembly entirely.
She just hits play on that specific track.
Exactly. She doesn't process the words individually. She deploys the entire phrase as one cohesive unit. This is a cognitive shortcut.
That's brilliant.
It drastically reduces the processing power required to speak, leaving her working memory free to focus on the actual variable data she needs to collect.
Like the caller's name or the actual message itself.
Right, the new information.
That structural reliance becomes deeply apparent when the script tackles the absolute hardest part of taking a message, which is writing down a phone number.
Oh, numbers are so difficult over the phone.
They really are.
Ah.
Alex gives Sophia the phrase, "Could I have your phone number, please?" But the critical instruction he gives her is the mandate to repeat the number back to the caller.
This is where we see the physical limitations of the brain's phonological loop.
The what loop?
The phonological loop. It's the part of our working memory that deals with auditory information, and it has a very short duration.
I actually want to demonstrate the pacing the script implies here, because it's a vital behavioral mechanism.
Go for it.
If someone gives you a 10-digit number, you cannot verify it at conversational speed.
No, impossible.
Right. If I say, okay, that's 55558675309, I haven't actually confirmed anything. I've just created an auditory blur.
It's just noise.
To effectively use that cognitive buffer you mentioned, you have to intentionally fracture the normal rhythm of speech.
Yes.
You have to say, let me read that back. That is 5555867.
The deliberate insertion of those pauses allows the listener's brain to process and verify the data in manageable batches.
It gives them time to catch up.
If you rush, you cause a buffer overflow in both the speaker and the listener. It spikes anxiety and drastically increases the error rate.
But, doesn't relying entirely on these prepackaged chunks and rigid pacing make us sound robotic?
It can feel that way, sure.
If I'm using linguistic macros and speaking in deliberate, calculated groups of numbers, I'm stripping all natural personality from my voice. Aren't we sacrificing human connection for efficiency?
In the context of a transactional phone call, prioritizing personality over clarity is a misallocation of effort.
No, interesting.
Predictability is what builds trust in high-stakes or stressful communication. When you sound robotic, as you said, by using standard phrasing, you are actually being highly considerate.
Considerate?
How so? You are removing the burden of interpretation from the caller. They don't have to decode your unique personality or creative grammar.
They just hear what they expect to hear.
Exactly. They simply hear the expected markers of a professional interaction, which allows both of you to complete the task with minimal friction.
That is a brilliant reframing. Conformity as a tool for mutual cognitive relief.
Yes.
So we've established the armor, we have the macros, the permission-seeking padding, and the deliberate pacing to manage working memory.
The whole toolkit?
Right. But the script throws a wrench into this perfectly managed system by introducing environmental failure.
Yes.
What happens when the technology itself breaks down?
The source material addresses the inevitable poor connection, and it results in a moment of acute cognitive dissonance for Sophia.
It's a really funny moment in the script.
It is. Alex instructs her that if the audio is failing, she should say, "I'm sorry, you're breaking up."
And Sophia is completely derailed by this.
Totally. She asks, "Breaking up?" Like a breakup.
She interprets the phrase through the lens of a severing of a romantic relationship.
It's a fantastic example of the psychological friction idioms cause in a second language learner.
Because the literal interpretation creates a totally bizarre reality. Like, why is this caller breaking up with me?
Exactly. And to understand why this causes such a processing spike, we have to look at how idioms function. Idioms map abstract or physical concepts onto unrelated scenarios. When a non-native speaker hears breaking up, their brain attempts to map the structural collapse of a physical object or the emotional collapse of a bond directly onto an auditory sound wave.
The concepts are totally incongruous.
Right. The brain hits a dead end, forcing the listener to halt all other processing to manually decode the metaphor while the caller is still speaking.
It's a linguistic glitch.
It really is.
Alex provides the clarification, though, and then offers the definitive macro for total technological failure. He tells her to say, "The reception is very poor here. Can I call you back?"
A very useful phrase.
But this leads to the most revealing psychological moment in the entire script.
Oh, Sophia's confession.
Yes. Sophia admits her previous strategy for dealing with bad connections, or like simply getting confused by a caller.
What did she do?
Her method was to just abruptly hang up the phone.
Just end the call.
Just hang up. And
Yeah.
Alex has to lay down a strict law. He says, never hang up.
Sophia's admission is a perfect case study in the fight-or-flight response manifesting in a modern, non-lethal environment.
I found myself both laughing at that and deeply relating to it.
Oh, we've all been tempted.
But I want to explore the mechanics of that reflex. Logically, we all know that hanging up on someone is universally considered rude.
Of course.
And we know it doesn't solve the problem because the person is likely to call right back.
Right, the problem doesn't go away.
So why does the urge to just terminate the call completely override our logical understanding of social consequences?
Because the brain perceives the social threat as an immediate physical threat.
Really?
Yes. When Sophia is on the phone, struggling to process a second language, dealing with idioms she doesn't understand, and then the audio starts cutting out, her cognitive load exceeds its maximum capacity.
It's just too much input.
The silence on the other end of the line isn't neutral, it is expectant.
Oh, wow.
It demands a response she cannot generate. The amygdala registers this high-stakes inability to perform as acute danger.
So if the brain is treating this like a predator attack, it's not like a turtle pulling into its shell to hide.
No, not at all.
It's more like a computer system executing a force quit when the CPU is overheating.
That's a great way to put it.
The system realizes that if it continues to try and process the corrupted data stream, the whole machine will crash. Hanging up the phone is pulling the power cord out of the wall.
Exactly.
It instantly eliminates the source of the stimulus.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is a highly accurate way to view it. It is a system override to prevent total cognitive failure.
Wow.
The problem, as you noted, is the social fallout. Hanging up terminates the immediate stressor, but it destroys the social capital.
You burn the bridge.
Right. To stay on the line means enduring the discomfort of vulnerability. You have to actively admit limitation by saying, "I don't understand," or, "Could you repeat that?"
Which exposes the failure.
Yeah.
Hanging up allows you to maintain the illusion that the connection dropped, rather than admitting your comprehension failed.
Exactly. This is why the specific phrasing Alex provides. The reception is very poor here. "Can I call you back?" is so powerful.
Because it's an escape hatch.
Yes.
So.
It provides a socially acceptable escape hatch. It externalizes the failure.
Oh, I see. The reception is poor and not my language skills are poor. You are blaming the infrastructure.
By blaming the infrastructure, you preserve your own status and you preserve the relationship with the caller.
It's brilliant.
It allows you to execute the flight response gracefully. You get to terminate the overwhelming stimulus, lower your heart rate, and reboot your cognitive systems, all while maintaining the architecture of a professional connection.
It's a controlled shutdown rather than a violent forced quit.
Precisely.
You schedule your retreat. You're basically saying, I am fleeing the conversation now, but I will return in 5 minutes when my system resources have freed up.
It's very empowering.
It transforms the user from a victim of the ringing phone into an active manager of the communication channel.
It really does.
If we connect all these pieces, the key takeaways from this deep dive paint a fascinating picture of human communication under pressure. The source script isn't just a list of vocabulary words.
No, not at all.
It is a manual for cognitive resource management.
We observed how the absence of visual cues forces the brain to over-rely on auditory processing. And that makes permission-seeking phrases like, "May I ask who's calling essential for lowering the caller's defensive threat response?"
Right. And we analyzed how phrases like, put you through, and would you like to leave a message act as linguistic macros.
They do the heavy lifting.
They allow speakers to bypass the grammatical assembly entirely, saving precious working memory for the actual data they need to collect.
We also explored the necessity of fracturing our natural speaking rhythm to accommodate the limitations of the phonological loop when verifying complex data like phone numbers.
The slow, deliberate pauses.
Exactly. And finally, we examined the fight-or-flight reflex that makes us want to force quit an overwhelming interaction, learning how to use externalizing phrases about poor reception to execute a graceful social exit.
Before we close out, there is a piece of homework embedded directly in the source material that we want to pass along to you.
It's a really good exercise.
Alex asked the listener to reflect, how do you usually answer the phone in your country? What are the standard scripted phrases in your native language?
Take a moment to analyze them through the lens we've used today. Do your native greetings utilize permission seeking?
Do they sound blunt when translated directly into English?
All right. Understanding the structural purpose of your own language's macros can offer profound insight into your culture's approach to social hierarchy and threat mitigation.
It's an incredible exercise in linguistic self-awareness. So what does this all mean for us, the people staring at our screens, dreading the spontaneous call?
Well, it changes how you see the script.
This deep dive has thoroughly celebrated the utility of the script. The source text proves that memorizing rigid, precompiled phrases is unequivocally the most effective way to manage the intense cognitive load of a live phone call.
Especially in a second language.
Exactly. These macros give us a framework to safely navigate the dark room. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something that pushes beyond the boundaries of Alex and Sophia's lesson.
Okay.
If we acknowledge that these highly structured, predictable scripts are the best way to save ourselves from the discomfort and cognitive friction of the unknown, is there a hidden cost?
A cost to the efficiency.
Yeah. As we increasingly rely on macros to manage our interactions, are we slowly degrading our capacity for truly spontaneous, unscripted human conversation?
That's a sobering thought.
When we continually use polished phrases to block the friction of vulnerability, do we inadvertently build a wall that also blocks genuine connection?
We might be.
The next time you find yourself sitting at your desk, watching your phone light up with an unknown number, pay attention to what happens in your mind. Notice the system resources spiking.
Notice the instinct to flee.
And when you finally answer, listen closely to your own voice. Ask yourself, are you actually engaging with a human being, or are you just executing a linguistic program to keep the void at a safe, manageable distance?